All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving deep into the very heart of the Bitcoin network, your own personal node. But, we're not just going to turn it on and walk away. We're going to master it because this isn't just about some technical setup. It's about making your connection to Bitcoin truly your own, getting it to work exactly the way you want it to. Your node, your rules.
So this is really the most important question we're going to ask today. See, running a Bitcoin node, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Are you a developer who needs to dig into all the raw data, maybe a hobbyist working with a laptop, or are you somewhere in between? The answer to that is going to shape every single decision we make from here on out.
Every powerful machine has a control panel, right? Well, for your Bitcoin node, that control panel is a simple little text file called bitcoin.conf. This is where all the magic happens. It's where you tell your node precisely how to behave. But before we can start flipping switches and turning dials, we first have to find the thing.
Okay, so go ahead and open up your terminal. We're just going to run one simple command, bitcoin-print to console. What this does is it tries to start your node and it prints out all of its startup info right there on your screen. It's basically like shouting to the node, hey, where do you keep your instruction manual?
And boom, this is the line you're looking for. The node will literally tell you the exact spot it's looking for, that bitcoin.conf file. It's almost always in a hidden folder called .bitcoin in your home directory. Once you see this line, you've found it. You've found your control panel. You can go ahead and hit Control-C to stop the node for now.
So just to recap, it's really a simple three-step dance. First, you run the command. Second, you scan the output for that one crucial config files line. And third, you open that exact file path in whatever text editor you like to use. Easy as that. Okay, now we get to the really fun part. Now, if you go and look up all the options, you're going to see there are like over 100 different settings you can tweak. And honestly, it can feel a little overwhelming. But here's the secret. Almost all of them boil down to a single choice between two main paths, or as I like to call them, two different builds. So, on one side, you've got the full index powerhouse. Think of this as the V8 engine. It's for developers, it's for researchers, it's for anyone running an app that needs to be able to look up any transaction in Bitcoin's entire history. It's incredibly powerful, but man, it needs a lot of disk space. Then, on the other side, you've got the lean, mean, pruned machine. This is your efficient four-cylinder option, perfect for the hobbyist, the curious learner, or anyone with limited hardware who still wants to be a full participant in the network without storing the entire massive blockchain. All right, so with our two builds in mind, the powerhouse and the lean machine, let's look at the most critical settings. I want you to think of these not as a long, boring list to memorize, but as a small arsenal of essential tools. For each one, we'll figure out which build it's perfect for. First up, we've got the prune setting. This is basically your node's automatic cleanup crew. Once your node downloads and completely verifies a block, it checks how old it is. If it's old news, prune just deletes it, throws it out. It's an absolute game changer for running a node on a laptop or a machine with a smaller hard drive. And this right here just shows you how dramatic the impact is. A full blockchain is closing in on 1 terabyte and it's getting bigger every single day. But a pruned node? You can run one with less than 10 gigabytes of space. I mean, that is just a massive difference. It makes running a node accessible to pretty much anyone. So let's be super clear here. If you've decided that the lean, mean, pruned machine is the build for you, then the prune setting is your absolute cornerstone. It's the single most important line you're going to add to your configuration file. Okay, let's grab our next tool, TX Index. So by default, your node doesn't really care about the whole world of Bitcoin transactions. It only really cares about the ones that are related to its own wallet. But what if you need to be able to look up any transaction that's ever happened? Well, that's where TX Index comes in. When you turn on TX Index by setting it to 1, you're telling your node, hey, I need you to build and maintain a complete index of every single transaction. This is the heart and soul of the full index powerhouse. It's what unlocks the ability to query the entire history of the blockchain, which is absolutely crucial for things like block explorers or any data-heavy application. Next on the list is DB Cache. You can think of this setting as your node's short-term memory. It controls how much of your computer's RAM your node can use to temporarily store blockchain data. The bigger this cache is, the less often your node has to go read from the much slower hard drive, which can really speed things up. Right out of the box, the default size is 450 megabytes, and that's a pretty reasonable middle-of-the-road value.
But the real beauty of this setting is that it's not set in stone. It's a flexible dial we can turn up or down to perfectly suit the machine we're trying to build.
Now, this is what's so cool. Look at how our two different builds use the exact same tool for completely opposite reasons. The powerhouse, which we assume has plenty of RAM to spare, is going to increase the DB cache to squeeze out every last bit of performance. But our lean machine, which is all about being resourceful, can actually decrease it to save that precious memory for other things running on the computer.
So let's put it all together. Here's what a sample build sheet might look like for our full index powerhouse. We might use the datator setting to tell it to store the blockchain on a big external drive. And of course, the star of the show, TX index equals 1. Simple, clean, and incredibly powerful for serious data crunching.
And here's the build sheet for our lean, mean, pruned machine. We're setting prune to 5,000 megabytes, that's 5 gigs. We can toss in blocks only equals 1 to help save on bandwidth. And look here, we've lowered both DB cache and max mempool way down to 150 megabytes each to keep that memory footprint super low. This is a lean, efficient, but still fully verifying Bitcoin node.
All right, you've made your choices, you've written your config file. Now it's time for the payoff. It's time to bring your custom-built node to life and make sure it's actually following your orders. And look at that, we've come full circle. We're using the exact same command we started this whole journey with, Bitcoin D print to console. Only this time, we're not just looking for a file path. No, this time we are watching our own custom node boot up with our settings.
And there it is. That's the proof. When you see a line in that startup log that says something like, using data directory / lots of space / Bitcoin, or a line that confirms your pruning setting, that's it. That's that moment of satisfaction. Your node is listening to you. It's running by your rules.
Once you're happy that everything's working, you can let your node run in the background. And anytime you want to check in on it, see how many blocks it's synced or just confirm its settings, you can use the command bitcoin-cli get blockchain info. It's like a quick little health check for your node.
So what we've seen is that configuring a Bitcoin node is way less about following some rigid instruction manual, and it's much more about making choices that are right for you. You now get the two main paths you can take, and you know the key settings that define them. You have the keys to the control panel. So the only question left is, what will you build?